Greetings, all my frenemies out there. I'm Dooz Diz Din coming at you with another My Little Pony Friendship is Magic episode review. This is season 9, the final seasons, episode 8, titled Frenemies. Now, we actually begin, meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom, where we find that our intrepid team are basically pestering Grogar, who is actually trying to find his bell, namely the Bewitching Bell, in order to regain the full scope of his power. However, he's met with insipid complaints about the other team members, from Cozy Go complaining about Tyrek basically just leaving food around. Tyrek calls Cozy Glow a liar, and then Chrysalis just simply wonders when they're gonna eventually get around to actually doing something about the heroes. But Grogar is had enough of their insipid whining and prattling, having hoped that by now they would have actually gotten used to being around each other, but they still bicker as if they first met. So he just simply seals their mouth in order to get them to fully listen to the scope of what he's trying to do, and tells them that he wants them all on the same page as soon as possible before they actually start doing things, rather than having them just go out, bicker, and just defeat their plans from the jump. So Cozy Glow creates this little banner in order to get them all together and on board with each other. So she calls a team meeting of everyone, with Tyrek trying to bulk up back into his full power form. And we find that Chrysalis is actually talking with a stump from, I think it was from, she's still trying to exact her defense. I think it's that stump from one of her creations from before in the Everfree Forest. She's still kind of obsessive with that. And she still kind of lashes out at Cozy Glow, who tries to kind of assert herself as the leader, but Chrysalis just wants her revenge. That's all she's consumed with, and that's all she wants to deal with at this point. But they all go along with it, if only just to shut Cozy Glow up. But we see that, Tyrek is still trying to siphon life force off of Chrysalis because he's still power hungry ultimately. And, neither one is really willing to listen to Cozy Glow as she continues to try to just assert her dominance. So we actually get this nice little character song, this villain song, Better Ways to Be Bad, where Cozy Glow kind of tries to get everyone on the same page. Despite the fact that they don't really much like each other, they go through all these team building exercises and all that to defeat their opponents. So Cozy Glow kind of tries to just, buy into their obsessions, with Chrysalis wanting to take down Starlight Glimmer because she foiled her biggest plans of all time, and Tyrek, he just wants to bulk up into his full muscular form. So they start to actually come together at first for at least a little while, just over the thought of defeating their enemies. But, ultimately they just start vying for power during the course of the song. Trying to be like, no, you should follow me. No, you should follow me. I have the better plan. I have the better plan. And that ultimately kind of, while the song does actually wrap up in a really fun manner, they end up still arguing over who actually could actually do in the good guys. And Tyrek is still just fed up with their constant bickering. So he ends up, raking them across the coals over the way they're acting. But Chrysalis and the rest call him out on the fact that it's just like, dude, look, if we actually knew what we were going to be trying to do, maybe we'd have a better time working together. So Tyrek actually, Grogar actually decides that if that's what you want, that's fine. I have a plan that involves all three of you. but the three of them are unwilling to cooperate on who should be the leader in executing this plan. So Grogard shows a demonstration of his power to be like, look, listen to me, shut up. And so he gives a little story about, Gusty, and how Gusty stole his, bewitching bell, the very source of his great power, and hid it away on this mountaintop, Mount Everhoof. It has been sealed behind a magical barrier that Grogar apparently hasn't been able to get through. So it'll take all three of them in order to retrieve the bell, which Chrysalis at first thinks would be an easy task until they actually get there. And as, Chrysalis tries in vain to fly up the mountain because of the strong winds, she's unable to, make it. So she has to walk at least a bit of the way through the forest with all these creatures. And I love this little moment where she, just scares off the various dark, shadowy creatures of the forest. Meanwhile, Cozy Glow ends up upon a cabin in the woods where there's actually a guardian of the mountain called Rusty Bucket, who Cozy Glow kind of tries to cozy up to in order to help her get up the mountain. And she says that she'll even try to be his friend and all that. Now, Rusty Bucket, he's no fool, at least to a certain degree, because he's just like, look, no one should go up that mountain, it's too dangerous. I'm trying to keep you away from a bad situation. Not to mention, if you really wanted to be my friend, just like in Twilight and her friend's book, you wouldn't be asking me to do something that goes against what I want to do, which naturally gets Cozy Glow all riled up, and she tries several times in vain trying to get up the mountain herself. Well, Chrysalis is having just as little luck as she continuously tries various transformations in order to get up the mountain. Meanwhile, Tyrek has been actually kind of chilling out at the base of the mountain, just making his own little encampment, because he figured he'd have Chrysalis and Cozy Glow try in vain to get up the mountain. Tyrek kind of figure out from jump that none of them would really be able to get up the mountain without really testing things out. So he let them do the hard stuff, and he wants all the information on what they had to do. However, Cozy Glow gets a little fed up with Tyrek's kind of better-than-thou attitude and how much superior he tends to act all the time. And they start to just kind of bicker about their time in Tartarus on top of that until this monster appears from within the forest, which they immediately blame on each other. But then this female version of the monster shows up, only for it to be revealed to be Chrysalis, who uses the monster's love to basically feed herself. Which, ultimately she only did because she wanted, she ultimately realized she would need Tyrek and Cozy Glow to actually accomplish their mission. So Tyrek asks again for all the info they have on the mountain itself. And as Chrysalis imprisons the monster, in order to siphon off a little bit more of its love, they actually start to bond over their various misdeeds and their, failures to a certain degree, but how much revelry they actually took in, the despair of the heroes. Because, that's the recurring thing. They actually bond over the fact that they enjoy just seeing Twilight, of all people, just in pain, suffering, and just really just stressing out as she, tends to do. So they ultimately decide that, what? We have this common hatred for Twilight and her friends, and we don't hate each other that much, not as much as we hate, the good guys, so maybe working together wouldn't be all that bad. So they end up going up, terrorizing Rusty Bucket. They work together, use their various different abilities, Cozy Glow's smaller size, Chrysalis's transformations, Tyrek's ingenuities, in order to help each other finally manage to get across and towards the cave, which actually is guarded by this magical barrier. So ultimately, they're unable to really figure out how to get in because Tyrek can only absorb magical power from living things. But they all actually end up agreeing that the best way to do things, despite Chrysalis's reservations, is to have Tyrek siphon off Chrysalis's magic, and that way he'll have enough strength in order to open up a hole in the barrier. And at first, Chrysalis isn't really sure that Tyrek will give it back, but they, ultimately come to the conclusion that there's no other option to them. So Tyrek absorbs Chrysalis's magic, gets himself to greater, almost full power, but the hole he actually managed to open up in the barrier is only big enough for Cozy Glow to get on through. So Tyrek has to hold that hole open, or else Cozy Glow would be trapped forever. Something the two of them don't really see a problem with at first, if only just because they wouldn't be able to get the bewitching bell. But Cozy Glow manages to get the bell and make it out, and Chrysalis begs Tyrek for her magic back. And it actually takes less than a second for Tyrek actually to decide to just give it back up, much to the surprise of Chrysalis, as she thought that he might not do it. But Tyrek, realized it seems smarter to work together, to have Chrysalis around to help defeat their enemies, because they were able to get the bell because of this. And they all come to the same realization that helping each other, this alliance, it actually worked. It actually seemed sensible. It felt a little nice, like there was some kind of bond between them that gave them a greater power, almost as if friendship were the true magic, which immediately sets Chrysalis off, because she feels as though the magic of friendship is a curse that would do nothing except, weaken her. That's what she lost her subjects to, the magic of friendship. So she completely is against what what Grogar is going for. I don't know why I keep calling him Tyrek. What Grogar is going for, as she feels it'll ultimately end up in her undoing, even though it actually would probably be the most beneficial thing to all of them. But they ultimately decide that they'll simply go along with Grogar's plans, if only just to backstab him later down the line, and go about trying to do each other in afterwards. But they also realize that they can't give Grogar the bell, as they don't want him too powerful, so powerful that he wouldn't even need them, or they couldn't even take him down afterwards. So they end up reporting to Grogar, saying that, yes, we worked together, we tried our best, but even with that, we weren't able to, free the bell, because we're not as powerful as you, which Grogar ultimately accepts, because at least they're still now working together, at least in his eyes. At least now, they're actually showing the ability to work towards a common goal. And he kind of accepts it, I think, because they called him more powerful. So Grogar leaves satisfied, but Chrysalis reassures him that even without Grogar's bell, they'll be plenty powerful enough to take down their enemies, having hid the bewitching bell right under Grogar's nose. A very fun episode. The song was a little cringe, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. Honestly, it's been a while since we've got a decent villain song. Not the worst, not the overall best, but it was fun enough. Villains being villains, and these are the last villains, true villains of the series for the most part. And the back and forth of, will they ultimately become these, magical friends and all that good stuff. But, it's a very interesting situation just to see this, because this marks the very first time Cozy Glow and Tyrek have actually ever sang. Chrysalis had a whole song to herself, but it was fun having the darker side of things. Just seeing the villains, because really we don't get that enough. just having a whole episode dedicated to the villains. You know, the villains are always the most fun. And if you can endear your audience to the villains, then you've kind of done a great job, at least in my eyes. And I don't know about you, but these villains have been really fun, especially in the context of this episode. It was entertaining, it was interesting, it was campy, but you know, just seeing the fact that they were able to come together and actually start to farm a bond after a certain point, you know, actually makes it feel more believable that after a certain point they will actually end up maybe turning good. You know, might not happen, they might just end up being imprisoned away, but there's the possibility that they might end up turning on Grogar and becoming, you know, friends in and of themselves. Or they might not. You know, honestly, who knows where these episodes will end up leading. But, you know, honestly, this honestly, the Legion of Doom, as the fans are calling them, you know, we're doomed to fail from the beginning, because villain teams always end up failing because they don't trust each other. They're always trying to backstab each other. Had they gone in from jump, not being the way they were before, they easily would have been defeated. But now that Cozy Glow, Tyrek, and Chrysalis are all on the same page, they'll probably be the biggest threat rather than Grogar himself. So they'll use Grogar's power to get an upper hand on the heroes, and then they'll swoop in to really kind of make sure that they're done for. But it'll be interesting to finally see this lead up to the finale just really get into full swing. You know, Grogar is the ultimate enemy of the My Little Pony franchise from the original G1 series, so it'll be interesting to see if he'll realize that the Bewitching Bell is there, because he sensed it on the mountain. It took him a while to find it after doing some searching, but he ultimately narrowed down the location of the Bewitching Bell, so I can't imagine that he won't get it back. It's too much of a tease for them to have actually gotten it and not actually have Grogar use it to some capacity. Or maybe even Cozy Glow, Tyrek, or Chrysalis will use the Bewitching Bell. Who knows? But, you know, there will ultimately be some kind of head, some kind of conclusion to the bond that's formed between these three characters. Something has to come of that, or else we wouldn't have set it up in this manner. Otherwise, it'd just be poor writing, honestly. But I've rambled on enough at this point. Tell me your thoughts on this episode in the comment section below. Who's your favorite out of the Legion of Doom? Grogar, Tyrek, Chrysalis, Cozy Glow? And do you like the fact that they're kind of coming together into their own kind of unit? Would you like to see them continue to be an evil league of villains? Or would you actually like them to see them converted to good towards the end of things? Will Chrysalis end up becoming one of the good changelings in the end? Or will she continue to be evil? Will Cozy Glow ultimately be satisfied with being friends with Chrysalis and Tyrek? And will Tyrek actually be satisfied with, you know, not having that power because he found a new form of power? Who knows? But again, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. If you liked this video, feel free to leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike and tell me what I did wrong in the comment section below so I might better myself for future videos. And subscribe and hit the bell icon. That way you never miss out on another My Little Pony Friendship is Magic episode review. And until the next video, just remember that even for enemies, even for your enemies, friendship is magic. I'm Deuce Dizdin, and I'm going to bed. Bye-bye.